Carrying on.
They stopped the tape. They're doing anything because there are billions at stake. It's not my lookout. What are you? Are you money or are you a human being? You're a human being, and that's all that matters at the end of the day, because it's the human being that leads to the money. It's the human being that earns the money, distributes the money, and so forth. But we're talking about factual processes here, or a process, and because the law, the government, the police won't allow me that factual process, then
everyone wants a slice of the travel market.
Every stupid company that continues to allow themselves part in this process, then just bring it on. Don't be worried about tiny old me here with no money, friends, family, or any of these things. If you're so right in your endeavours, then what are you afraid of in allowing me access to my own information? What are you afraid of? You're afraid of something. You're afraid of your own fucking evil is what you're afraid of. And you're afraid of me bringing light onto that evil. So if I'm tweeting the Crown Prosecution Service, that's Bastion and Sword and Shield, have to take evidence literally. Because the police aren't doing it, and if the police are not doing it, then somebody's stopping the police from doing it. And as always, from the very first minute, I've been accurate and honest in all my assessments. In terms of the conflict, I'm proving the conflict is not coming out of this address. It's not coming from here, it's coming from somewhere else by virtue. But just because judges, kings and queens and processes don't want to allow the situation to basically go into complete chaos, not my fault, not my lookout, I'm a human being, I deserve rights. What's your issue? What's your issue? So, as you can see here, there's the information, it should be reading the information.
So as you can see there, that is just one of the most just fabulously ridiculous things you'll ever see in your life. How or why you could say the voiceover there as even I just, there are no words to explain how that has even got on the screen and where it has come from, because that was never done in my video. I have never microphone wise internally recorded any of that. You can clearly see there's a conflict between what is going on in the background, as in the news report, and my own words. You can see, yes, it is clear that my own words are somehow getting on that screen. Yes, you can hear clearly that the news report in the background is getting on that screen within the dialogue. It's like a jumbled up mess. First off though, who's translated it, you could say, and who's recorded that? I haven't. And I know that it was not within my video, so somebody has been in to tamper with the video to put that on top of it. And again, some of the comments that are in there that weren't even said by me, somebody has overlaid into it and just made them up themselves, and obviously finds it funny to themselves, or otherwise they wouldn't have put them in. Horrendous.
Welcome to another evidence recording session. The date, and the time. Rachel, what's the day and the date? Of August 2017, yeah? Okay. I'd like to bring the logs...
Very important, this.
To something extremely important that I believe, at this stage, is going to be manipulated. Now, you're thinking to yourself, how or why is this going to be manipulated, this Nancy Bishop evidence? Because, ladies and gentlemen, on a multiple, you could say, set of levels, between Channel 4, Nike, Nancy Bishop, the government, police, and the Parliament, are struggling. It is my best guess estimate at the minute that how they're going to get round this particular type of evidence regarding Nancy Bishop. Now, it's already been made clear that Conservative members of Parliament have been going on about Prague and other certain things. Now, what you've got to remember is that this, in regards to Nancy Bishop, these emails, were wrote in 2010 to Nancy Bishop. Rachel, do you remember this?
I do.
Do you remember when they hacked my emails?
Yeah.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, do not let the police deceive you on this. The police know fine well that Mr. Jones got, in regards to this Nancy Bishop evidence, through the camera behind the Hitachi television. Okay? So that's through the camera behind the Hitachi television. He's been hacking other computers since day one. And the pig ignorant evil bastard will probably say, and I'll quite gladly do it again, because it's that kind of mind. Because what they don't want to admit at this stage, in fact you'll be like trying to get blood out of a stone, in regards to Mr. Jones's relationship with the government. They don't want to have to release that. Unfortunately now they're enveloped, you could say, within a quagmire of evidence that no matter which way they go, they will be caught lying. Now, it's pretty complicated, this, because the story, and from my best estimate, is the police's position on this has changed. When quite literally, how can it change when they originally caught Mr. Jones getting the information via the Hitachi television? It is my best guess estimate now they're going to try and say that Mr. Jones hacked the computer, when that's not what he told the police originally. And the police know this. Now, what complicates this even further is individuals in Hollywood. What complicates it further is Nike's involvement in this, and as I've said before, Alina Goulding. She'll probably turn around and say something stupid like, well, all of this is very confusing to me. Yes, I'm sure it really is confusing, when that's just a lot of rubbish, really. You see, what we've got here is we've got a game of show and tell where a whole host of people are all in it for their own gain and are trying to get out of a situation in regards to voyeurism, hacking of computers, police corruption, voyeurism, burglary. It just goes on and on and on and on. But it is my best guess estimate that the police will try and change the story now. And we know they've got a habit of getting witnesses to change their statements to fit the bill. Again, as I've said before, this will go right back to the head of state who's trying to manipulate this to try and get her own way. So, as you can see here, if I just go into this bottom one that was sent to Lord Leveson on the 5th of December 2011, 8:35. I think you'll find the Metropolitan Police already looked into this, ladies and gentlemen, and they knew there and then. What they don't like, the fact is that the recent smartphone evidence of the hacker operating in Prague, they don't like that's been caught, you see. So they need to try and pin it on somebody in regards to computer hacking. Now, don't be double dared by this. What there is this is another agenda by the police to label all the computer hacking on an individual, so that individual can turn around and say, the government told me to do it. This is part of the police manipulation, ladies and gents, okay, in working with Philip Edgar Jones to try and get back at the government and try and blame them completely for the entire thing. When all of this had many players and they were all in it for their own greedy, devilish, evil end. So don't be deceived by what the police are trying to do here. Again, and as members of Parliament will testify, the police are trying to re-manipulate the situation in regards to Channel 4 and the voyeurism and the voyeuristic side of things. So, Rachel, can you just read that email for me, please?
This is one of the millions of occasions they set me up. Once she'd received no audition, she denied all knowledge, as you can see. This seems to be a hybrid of hacking on their behalf and cooperation of theirs.
And as you can see, Lord Levison's emails there. So if we go up to the same, another email, only there's a megabyte difference for some reason. Now as you can see there, sent 5th of December 2011 at 8:35, so the Levison inquiry did receive it. And obviously I've got the email proving that we received it. And Lord Levison and his team will just say, yes, this was past the Metropolitan Police. This was what, 5-6 years ago, whatever it is? 6 years ago! Ladies and gents, 6 fucking years! The Metropolitan Police have been lying their fucking arse off to everybody and everything to fit and suit their own agenda. And we know that they're manipulating the situation now on the behalf of Queen Elizabeth II, the head of state. So the Metropolitan Police can hand everything they like over to the FBI, all they like. Well, they should have done that 6 years ago. But I want you to take a look at the date. They did hand everything over 6 years ago. It's the FBI that have been playing in denial in regards to Hollywood, Nancy Bishop and Bernard Hill and so forth. Because you've got to remember, again, I don't know Bernard Hill's full involvement in this. But what I do know is that in regards to that Nancy Bishop evidence and so forth, I spoke to Bernie Hiller over the phone about this. And my emails had been manipulated then. Oh, I'll tell you what they're doing, ladies and gentlemen. They don't want to have to admit, and this is between the police, the government and Endemol, Channel 4, they don't want to have to admit that they got, that Endemol were manipulating my GT Heathcote at MSN.com account. Do you know why? It's because that was linked, ladies and gentlemen, to my Facebook account that had been hacked. And now we know what we now know in regards to me being completely hacked. If it's found out and if it's laid mainstream, then the whole lot of them will be in for it. So what they're doing now is they're probably sitting down, trying to seek a way out of this in regards to Hollywood's attachment to this. I'm afraid Hollywood's not going to be getting away with this. How can it? Now, I advise members of the Hollywood community to go to their lawyers because, look, it's not my fault you involved yourself in this. I've never done anything wrong at any stage. If you want to blame the police, you should be blaming the police because the police were at the heart of it. The police are apologising to everybody but the person that matters. Well, that's because the head of state is deliberately keeping the police away from it. Oh no, sorry, until it suits her and her agenda. It's the same old story. The fact is the government are going to come heavily into this now, and you're going to see the major conflict in regards to why all my email evidence to Lord Levison was ignored. And if it wasn't ignored, which we know it wasn't, and it was investigated then. So everybody had come to their conclusions back then in regards to Nancy Bishop, and I think you'll find, ladies and gentlemen, is Mr. Jones confessed to not hacking the computer, but there was a camera behind the screen. And now they'll probably try to say, well, it was because we hacked the computer. When we know fine well that's not the case, there was a camera behind the screen of which caught everything in 2-3 Brimstone Avenue. Is that right, Rachel?
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. Well, I'm sure members of Parliament will be able to testify to that. Exactly. You see where this is going now? It's just going to end in utter disaster. It's a trick, this, on behalf of the Metropolitan Police, to try and get them to change their story of the way they want the evidence to go. So all the FBI have to do now as an independent body is go and ask Lord Levison and his team and ask him, did you sit down with the head of state to do this or to do that and so on and so on? And I'm sure they'll be able to tell you. And obviously as a High Court judge he's not going to lie to the FBI, is he? So again, we've got this terribly complicated situation is that where you've got the police and the head of state who will probably now try and blame it all on the government and say, oh look, it's the government that ignored all of his Leveson evidence. So how could they have ignored all my Leveson evidence when it was investigated then? So as you can see, the images are the images of the email. I can't get them up here because it's on the Xbox. So they've got a huge conflict there, and they're not going to be able to get around this. They think they will be able to get around it, but they can't. And the reason they're going to try and hop and skip this part of the evidence, as I've been saying since day one, Lord Leveson knew about the Nancy Bishop evidence then, and the police investigated it then. And they asked Mr. Jones then in regards to his involvement with Starz, which is the production company, and so on and so on, in regards to the audition of Spartacus. The fact is, ladies and gentlemen, they don't want to have to go into the Hollywood evidence again in regards to individuals in Hollywood who partook in all of this sadistic crap, because they know they've got the legal weight and the legal muscle to challenge the Metropolitan Police and the government on a sixpence. And because they're in another jurisdiction, they can challenge it. Because the FBI is dealing with it, they can go to the FBI and say, well, we know this. We were told this, we were lied about this, and so on and so on. And the Metropolitan Police and the head of state do not want that. So what they're trying to do, best guess estimate, is to try and get round saying that this evidence doesn't exist, and that he's lying, or he's this, or he's that, when you can quite clearly see Lord Leveson was handed this information in regards to the hacked email, Nancy Bishop emails. And they know as soon as they go to Lord Leveson and his team talk about this, yes, we received that, yes, it was passed to the Metropolitan Police, it will go right back to the Metropolitan Police, and they'll be back to square one in their sadistic trying to manipulate the evidence against me. I.e., they're trying to not admit, ladies and gentlemen, that there is a camera behind this Hitachi television, still, that there's a camera there, and that is what has picked up a lot of evidence. The thing is, it's picked up evidence they don't want to go into, ladies and gentlemen, i.e. about other members of the royal family, and they don't want to have to go into this, because they know if they go to people like Kate, for example, she'll tell the truth. So they don't want to have to go into that evidence and pretend that they've not seen other bits of evidence and so forth. Why? Because they're sadistic, and they're liars, and they're manipulators, like they have been since day one. So very, very important this in regards to certain bits of evidence. Now, as you can see, that was sent to my brother. Even my brother was let in on this. 31st of December 2012.
Keep coming in for part.
Now, obviously, he's going to have to be asked questions by the